All right, it is time for our rants and raves of the week. Starting with you, Roy Harris, what do you got?
Oh my gosh! Well, I have a rave for DreamWorks, the film company, for having acknowledged the work that the Boston Globe did, back to the Boston Globe, back in 2002 on the church stories. I got a chance to learn a lot about the church stories when I was doing my book on the Pulitzers, and I was amazed at the twists and turns in the backstory here, how this story got to be done. And I always thought to myself, what a fascinating way to do a book. It would end up looking a little bit like All the President's Men, and I think probably they'll be able to pull it off that way. I had a second rave that I'll just very quickly mention here, is that it's become sort of a parlor game now to talk about who you're going to cast in journalistic circles anyway. And Boston Magazine did a lovely piece online about casting different people who might be in this role. And as I recall, we have a couple of pictures here. We have Jeff Bridges has been nominated to play the role of Marty Baron. They're both kind of grizzled. Yeah. And they've got Liam Neeson has been picked as being one of the as being someone who would be Walter Robinson, who was the Spotlight team leader who really made this whole project go. And I think he could probably do a good job on that. And then I had to get into the game. They did not say anything about one of the characters who is not a member of the Boston Globe, but was quite on the other side, Cardinal Law. I pictured Donald Sutherland, so that's my nomination.
All right. I think maybe Earl Weaver, but he passed away.
That's right. Dan, what do you got?
Yeah, I think Donald Sutherland is inspired. A lot of Globe stuff today. I have a rave for Scott Lehigh, the Globe political columnist, who wrote an absolute scorching column about the two Democratic candidates for the U.S. Senate, Steve Lynch and Ed Markey, who are refusing to disclose how they filled out these questionnaires distributed by various special interest groups, most of them representing public employee unions. It was a terrific column. He just made the calls. No one would disclose. Of the candidates, Republican Dan Winslow seems to be the only one who's willing to disclose.
Right, Kelly?
New York Times, owner of the Boston Globe for the moment, screwed up once again with their stories about women in the obit column about Yvonne Brill. Yvonne Brill, a brilliant rocket scientist. So they start off the obit saying she made a mean meatloaf. And yes, she made a mean meatloaf, and she was the best mom. The woman's a rocket scientist. President Obama awarded her a national medal for technology. She discovered something that was, I can't even describe because I am not a rocket scientist. And that's how they led. There was so much pushback. The public editor got into it. They changed it, but just slightly. So the first line is she was a brilliant rocket scientist and she was a good mom.
Oh, God. Yeah.
New York Times, it's not rocket science.
On the other hand, a really good meatloaf doesn't come along every day of the week. You know what I mean?
The AP has rules about that, by the way.
I bet they do. I have a rave for Howard Kurtz, who wrote a good column this week criticizing the TV critics of America, particularly on the East and West Coast, who've been so down for so long on Jay Leno, who's soon going to give up The Tonight Show. He pointed out that Jay Leno is A, funny, and B, one of the most successful comedians and talk show hosts ever. And I also think Jay Leno is funny, and as much as that may make me a square, so be it. And I don't appreciate a bunch of snot-nosed elitist critics dumping on a good old Andover boy who's made good. How about that for parochialism?
You're right. People love the piling on effect. It's especially big in Boston, the piling on effect.
Love Jay Leno.
All right, well, I have a rave for Maria Stefanos of Fox 25. This week, she had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Barney Frank, and we all know what that can be like. So she asked him, the interview was going along swimmingly, he was donating his papers to UMass Dartmouth, I think it was. Anyway, she then asked him what he thought of Governor Deval Patrick's choice of Mo Cowan as the interim senator. She asked him whether he thought that was a good choice, and here's what he said.
I understand why you asked the question, because you like to be contentious, because interviews in which you, in particular at Fox, don't ask things that might look like they're putting me on the defensive aren't good interviews from your standpoint.
I think this has been a very fair interview. I don't think it's been contentious at all. I think I've asked you some good questions. You don't agree?
I have to say she held her own, but Haven't we all been there at least once, maybe twice, with Barney Frank? And this is, it's just part of his MO, to attack the interviewer.
Can you blame him? Imagine someone being gratuitously contentious. That must have come out of left field from poor Barney.
Well, I'm a Maria Stefanos fan, and her stock has gone up even more.
Amen.
Oh, God. Good luck to her. All right, and that is it for Beat the Press. Give us your take. Should the media drop the term illegal immigrant? What's a better term? Weigh in at our website at beatthepress.org. Monday in Greater Boston, Portsmouth Naval Shipyard remembers a national tragedy. 50 years ago Wednesday, the Thresher submarine sunk with 129 on board, remembering the USS Thresher. That and more Monday at 7. Now stay tuned for Basic Black, looking at whether Boston is ready for a mayor of color. That's next on Basic Black. For all of us, I'm Emily Rooney. Thanks for watching.